Yo, what's up? Episode 31 here as we talk about the abundance and the future of card shows. You might have been to some. Let's get into it. Let's have some fun with this episode. Episode. Hey, welcome to episode 31 of Meelypops. My name is Jameel. I am the owner of the Meelypops Shop here in Gainesville, Florida. Give us a follow on all the social platforms if you get a chance. I am excited for episode 31 because we are going to talk about what has become more than just a card show, but really the hype and the future and the abundance of card shows in our nation. So I can't wait to get into this topic. And as I start, I usually have a little plug for something. Well, this week's plug is quite interesting because it's me at a card show that also SlabStox will be at down in Miami. Don't say Miami, but Miami at the Courtside Card Show. I will be there with the full force of our shop. We'll have a lot of cards, a lot of wax. I'll be set up with Card Kahuna and many other folks. As you guys know, Jacob, maybe from the deals that we've done recently with the Pokemon case, and some other awesome people at this event. Please come out if you are in Florida or if you want to fly in. It is going to be pretty awesome. I heard it's about 125, 150 tables, so we should be expecting quite a bit, and I'm sure the dealing will be quite a bit. So Aaron will be there as well. SlabStox will be there, and Meelypops will be there. So it'll be a true Meelypops show, right, baby? So hopefully you can make it out. That is May 1st and 2nd this weekend. All right, so let's talk about card shows and kind of what I'm seeing with that. I was talking about Aaron about some episodes and future things, planning it out, and he was kind of just mentioning to me, let's just get into this with card shows because this is happening more often than ever. We are seeing new shows pop up all over the place, and we're not seeing the small, 30 table show with the Knights of Columbus or in the high school gym. And there's nothing wrong with those shows. Trust me, those are awesome. But what I'm seeing is just massive shows, and I'm seeing people who are running these shows from a younger perspective. So it's very interesting to see where the hobby is going, what the marketplace at these shows are like, and of course, what to expect when you go to these shows. So why is it important? Number one, card shows have had their place, from the 70s, 80s, 90s, really with the boom. I feel like 80s and 90s going to card shows. You might go and get an autograph guest and get yourself in line there and go buy some packs at the show, yada yada. You guys all have the memories, the nostalgic element to it. But what I think is most important about card shows is that they are a marker, and they're also a beacon for the hobby. And what I mean by that is you can kind of gauge and feel the pulse, right, of where the market is at card shows. See what's hot, see who's buying what people are asking for. I think a lot of people enjoy that, right, the action, so to say, at a card show. And then it's a beacon, I think, because it gives people an opportunity to buy and sell, trade, but it also gives people, I think, collectors and flippers alike, investors, whatever you want to call that term today, or the hybrid collector, hybrid investor. It gives them a little bit of hope to realize, hey, I can do this. I can function in this marketplace, make some money, buy and sell cards. Sometimes, and I see this all the time at shows, people are on the floor back and forth buying and selling cards. Sometimes they're buying and selling cards before they've bought or sold the card or traded for the card, but it's just the craziness of shows. So I'm really stoked to kind of see this next generation of shows. Now, I will say this, I am seeing a abundance of new shows show up, and I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing yet, but I think what I'm noticing, though, is that even at the Dallas card show, which is an incredible card show, I think paralleling and rivaling the National in some ways, these kinds of shows are happening so frequently that I do notice a slight staleness to them. Now, I'm not saying that is the overall arching theme of it. Every show has a different story. Every show has its deals. Every show has its awesome dealers. Every show has its crappy dealers. But I think what I'm seeing is that there's shows popping up everywhere, and there is an abundance of them. For example, I'm gonna try my best, by the way, to not call out a show, because I know somebody will say, "Oh, Jameel, why'd you not call my show?" Or, "Hey, man, how come you didn't mention mine?" I'm gonna do my best not to do that, but because I know there's so many out there. But I think about just us, right? My little shop here in Florida, and trying to be proactive. There are two, maybe three shows in the state paralleling each other almost every weekend, and that's not a good thing, because I think for my state, where there only being 15 or so true card shops in the state, I don't know if that's helpful to the hobby, that there's so many different shows paralleling one another within 2, 3, 4 hours drive. I am seeing more of them in my state, in the southeast down here. I know for us in May, we have a show this weekend. I shared with you guys the Miami show coming up. We have a show the following weekend in Clearwater. We have a break. Then we have I'm going to take a break. There are other shows going on that third weekend. Then Dallas shows up on the fourth weekend. And then the last weekend, there's other shows in the state, which will probably take a break as well. But I'm finding that there can be some burnout, right, with people going to shows, expending a lot of energy, their time, their weekends, to sometimes see the same kind of stuff. So something that I try and do is not go to every show. I try and keep it fresh from the selling side. From the buying side, I'm very active at shows, in our state and nationally. But I think there is an abundance, and I'd love to see what you guys think about in the comments, wherever you're watching this, on how you might be seeing shows increase very quickly. Now, with that, I think a lot of people would say the reason why that's happening is because of greed. And I think we can all attest to that, is that where there is a lot of profit and money to be made, there will be greed. Now, I hope that for the sake of the hobby, we don't create too much. But I'm saying all this in the back of my mind, realizing that there are still hundreds and thousands of people showing up to these shows. So it can't be that bad. We can't be in that bad of a place. And even when the market does dip, and we're seeing that kind of, here in late April, early May, amongst most sports, soccer's been really hot, but we're seeing some dips. Baseball's been pretty hot, but we're seeing even dips in that, right? Basketball, football, Pokemon, different things, seeing dips and things, that there's still a vigor and still just a push for people to be at these shows, go to these shows. These shows are all sold out in my state. I talk to all the guys who promote the shows, waiting list, can't get in, yada, yada. And I think that just goes to show, sorry to use the pun there, but it just goes to, give us a barometer, right, a reading of the popularity of them. So there are a lot of shows, and I do think regionally we're going to start to see an emergence of the regional shows, the Southeast, the Midwest, the national whole, the West Coast, the Northeast, right? And you're starting to see more of that, I think, if you're paying attention, without me going into details. But there are shows popping up everywhere, and these aren't, like I said, the McDonald's shows, right? These are the all-you-can-eat buffet Texas State Brazil steak dinner shows, right? Where the meat and potatoes and everything else and all the frills are there. So I want to be careful, because I don't want to squash or put people down or think that this isn't a good thing, because I think it is for the hobby. But regionally, what we're going to probably see is, and I think from a practicality standpoint, you can't go to every show and travel and do all this. And most people who are doing that, who are becoming kind of the figureheads at shows, and they do this and this and this, they're going to burn out. And I think that a big thing of that is the overhead and the element of, is it really worth it, versus maybe just doing a fire sale from your home computer, or listing on eBay, or whatever you do. So I always ask that question to myself, my team, and to others, is that if you're going to shows, are you profiting? And that's a huge, huge, huge question that I think people answer too quickly. Of course I profit. I just flipped this card for that. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the time spent in that. Are you truly networking? Are you truly using that time wisely? Or is it one of those things where you're expecting money to come to you, right? So being mindful of those things as we watch these shows grow. Another note, is the national show now, as many of you know, have been following it, announced that they're not making a decision for the July National 2021 until June 1. This is because the state of Illinois, and I think with Chicago, there are some elements to there with COVID not meeting that level where they can have that amount of people in the show. And of course, international travel still having its bans and whatnot. So even if the national does happen this year, there is going to be, I don't know actually, I say that, but there is a frenzy around of cards. If the national does happen, I do believe there will be a frenzy. Will it be like years before? I don't know. Maybe it'll be greater, maybe it'll be less. I remember Chicago 2019 and just how crazy that was, and we weren't even in the world and the frenzy of where we're at today. So it'll be very interesting to watch that. Obviously, COVID restrictions, large gatherings, but we have the national, right? And then we also have something like the Dallas Card Show, which is putting on a national level 500, 600, 700 tables, people going to it, happening almost 6 times a year, almost paralleling, creating a Midwest, Southern, national type experience. Maybe we get to those regional experiences. There's a Northeast type national, a West Coast type national, a Southeast type national. Maybe those things will happen. And I hope so. I think it's great for the card market. And maybe we'll have our own little posses and people that we follow in each region at the card shows. I like this guy. I like that guy. I like this shop. I like that dealer. I think it's good for the hobby to just create those microcosms and infrastructures. So let's see where that goes. And then lastly, the last thing I want to talk about, trying to keep this episode somewhat, concise, is that obviously there's lots of shows, and more shows. But I do think that we're seeing a shift, a paradigm shift in the old type of show being dealer setup. You go, there might be some autograph guests. You're going to have this. You're going to expect this. Versus the new show, which is, I think, a level playing field. You might have a DJ. You might have people breaking. You might have alcohol being served. I'm seeing this, from a standpoint of it being more experiential versus and more of something to bring other people to. And I kind of look forward to that because I think that's going to bring a lot of new eyes into the hobby. But there have been some shows just recently that have followed that model. So I'm seeing that more and more. I've argued this from the beginning that card shops need to become more experiential, need to become more catered to the customer. I think you're seeing that with shops that are truly the modern card shop versus shops that are, let's just say, the old shop, right? Mentality, not making changes, not adapting, not trying. And I love those shops. Those are the OGs of the hobby and what I came to know. But I'm seeing the death of those shops because even in this crazy market, they aren't making what they probably could be making. So I see that happening with shows as well. That's where I'm trying to go in my crazy head. I see that old hat, new hat type of thing happening with shows. Now, I don't know, and I'm going to be very careful here, I don't know if the new experiential glitz and glamour, all the frills, 5-star Uber rating, right? I don't know if that's the future of the hobby. I like to think that's a way to bring in new people to the hobby, but I don't know if that's the full future, right? I do think, shows that are true to their roots, good dealers, lots of marketplace happenings, maybe presence of grading. I think those big 3 things, autograph, authentication, I lump in with grading. Those big 3-4 things are massive. Of course, in a big city, accessibility, all those things go into play. But I think if you have the true elements to a show, it's always going to attract those people. I'd love to see what you guys think about new shows. Maybe you guys have visited some shows and you're like, this isn't the typical show I've been to. I want to hear what you guys think about that. I think that's a key in understanding where we're going with the card market and where the hobby is going as well. So I think that's going to do it for episode 31 on the show front. Be mindful of releases this week. I just kind of like to talk about releases because usually I film these episodes on a Tuesday. Tomorrow being our big release day. Bowman Baseball, right? The hobby and the jumbo. Big time stuff coming out. All the prospects, all the first Bowman Chrome autos. Very interesting to watch. UFC Prism. Khabib Gold autos. Conor McGregor Silvers. Just the amount of I mean, this is so much with UFC and the Prism element being the first release of Panini. I can't wait to see how this is going to do. I'm seeing the market being around the $800 to $900 a box for that. Blows my mind that it would be that much for a UFC release, but let's see what happens. So that comes out tomorrow. We have Diamond Kings Baseball, which is a staple for a lot of people, a very affordable wax box to buy. We also have Chronicles football coming out this week. That is Chronicles Hobby and Hybrid Elements, being the second to last release of football before we get into the 2021 stuff. So we're getting there. Flawless is coming, everybody. And that will cap off the 2020 class, which has been incredible, right? Look at 2020 National Treasures, how they've been selling with the quarterbacks. We also have Upper Deck SP Game Used this week for hockey, another favorite amongst a lot of people. I'm definitely forgetting one. I'm sorry. Formula One Chrome just came out last week, which was also just a banger of a product. I think a lot of people really ate that up and enjoyed that product. And so there's just all these products coming out again. I know we've kind of talked about it from the standpoint of being a little bit of an overabundance of stuff in the hobby, but you know, it's there. It's going to be there. People are going to rip it. I'd love to see what you guys think. And I'm just checking to see. I think I caught everything for this week. And if I didn't, you can come back and tell me I'm wrong. But I'm looking forward to it, everybody. Hopefully you're having fun in the hobby. Hopefully you're enjoying stuff, selling stuff, buying stuff, trading stuff. If I can, I'll catch you at the Miami Card Show this weekend. Or if you're going to your own card show, let me know how it went. Love to hear about pickups. Love to hear about what you experienced at the card show. And we'll call it quits for this week of Meelystox. Until I see you next week,